Western Valley Congressman Henry Cuellar had a sit-down with a Central American diplomat yesterday talking about this surge, this wave of illegal immigrant kids coming into the valley. It's been a continuous problem. It's been happening for weeks now, and there's no relief in sight. And he's trying to get to the source of the matter. Joining us on 710 KURV is Congressman Henry Cuellar. Henry, how'd that conversation go yesterday? Who did you meet with, and what did you say?
Well, I met with the Honduran ambassador personally. I have talked to him before. I've talked to the ambassadors from El Salvador and, of course, from Guatemala, and I intend to try to talk to them again either today, this afternoon, and say, hey, guys, we need to have a shared responsibility here because you're going to start getting some reaction, a strong reaction from the U.S. I got a call from a friend of mine yesterday, another congressman, and he had a very strong reaction. I don't think it would have been what we need to do because it won't solve the problem, but it's a strong reaction, and people are getting frustrated that people just keep coming across. You know, Serge, let me give you these numbers. I just got them yesterday.
Okay.
Just for the month of May, from El Paso down to Brownsville, Border Patrol caught 48,000 people. 48,000 people just the month of May.
Wow.
And then from there, about 20% of them, about 9,700 of them were kids with no parents at all.
Wow.
So that's just 1 month, not 1 year, but 1 month. And that's why we just gotta push those ambassadors. You know, the ambassador basically told me, look, yes, we want to stop this illegal movement of kids. Yes, we want to stop the gangs from taking advantage of them and bringing them over here. Yes, we want to start a campaign. Yes, we want to get some of our kids back to Honduras. So he kept saying that he wanted to do things, and I kept saying, well, when are we going to start? He says, well, we're still talking to the State Department, and basically he said, I don't think we're on the same page. I said, what do you mean you're not on the same page? He says, well, that's one of the reasons I'm here with you, so we can talk about it. So, I mean, the State Department, our own State Department, Serge, they need to have a sense of urgency, because I just don't feel this sense of urgency from Washington. Now, our men and women, they're doing a heck of a job down there at the border, but I just don't sense a sense of urgency coming in from Washington.
And you know what, Henry, I'm wondering if perhaps you and colleagues from the embassies in Central America should perhaps be concentrating your attention on the higher up at the administration, on the president himself. Ask him to take the initiative and say these children, these families, this is not the way to do it. They're coming here illegally. They will be deported. There is no open invitation to come to this country. I mean, all of this seems to have started a couple of years back with this internal memo with immigration official. I think it was ICE, and said, we're going to be selective in who we prosecute and who we deport. We're going to go after the criminal aliens. Anyone deemed not a threat to the country, well, you don't have to move in that direction. And they've been taking advantage of that ever since. The word gets out to Central America, and there's a good chance they're going to be released with a piece of paper to report to a court date, and they know that there's a good chance that they're going to be allowed to stay in this country. It needs to come from higher up in the administration.
Oh, absolutely. We got to send a message that we don't have a Cuban policy de facto where you just step on the U.S. and you're in. Now, this only applies for women and children or mothers and children or even pregnant women. If you're a pregnant woman, they're going to give you that notice to appear. And
that's what needs to change. That's what the White House needs to do a 180 on.
And I don't hear him say that. I just do not hear him say that. And, I'm asking for the White House or for the Secretary of Homeland, hey, get down to the border, listen to the men and women that work at the border, talk to the local officials. I wouldn't be surprised if they just show up there. They'll go in, see a detention center, they'll go back with with their own ideas. Yeah. No, I mean, one of the reasons I did that tour on Saturday, I could have done that by myself, but I invited, the state senator, a couple of state reps, the county judge from Hidalgo, because I want them to see what's happening.
Yeah, well, they're the ones responding. We got the city and everyone else putting up shelters. We got local churches, people responding to that mess right now. We're the ones being affected most by it. Joining us on 710 KURV is Western Valley Congressman Henry Cuellar.
Yeah, Congressman Tim Sullivan here, and you mentioned the need for folks in Washington to come down here. Now, Homeland Security Secretary Jay Johnson and his deputy, they have been down here a couple of times in recent months. Uh, and they're going back to Washington, but apparently not with the message you want them to send.
Well, they have. They flew in. Talked to some of the folks, and then headed back there. They took a tour, but is something sinking in? I think, with all due respect to the new secretary, he's new, and I think he's trying to do his best, but. Why are we not getting the response? Why am I talking to some of the ambassadors? And I'm sure they're communicating, but I can't go into details. But what the ambassadors, the impression I got, this is just my impression. They're saying we're not communicating with the State Department. I mean, that's not my job. I'm not a part of the State Department. I'm not an ambassador. They ought to be talking, and they ought to be doing something faster. But the sense of urgency is very different. It's just so different. Now, as you know, they did that tour of Brownsville, Nogales, because all of us, you, I, all of us, we've been putting a lot of pressure. We've been talking about this because if it wasn't for all of us working together, it would have been kept under the rug. It would have been kept very quiet. They would have been releasing thousands of people in our bus stations. They would have, they would have still been giving those notice to appear. It's to all of us in our border. We stood up and said, "Hey, tell us what the heck is happening here."
Oh, what's happening there? What did the ambassador tell you in your conversations? What is the main reason the kids are flowing out of their own country, and why can't the country of Honduras, the government there, handle their situation, whatever it might be?
Well, what they told me is the same thing the kids told me. They basically said, "Listen, we need some assistance on economic. I know," he says, "money's tight in the U.S., but just a little investment in our countries will save you guys a lot of money." Number one. So the economics, and he says we need help with the violence. He says Honduras is the number one capital murder in the whole world. I think El Salvador and Guatemala are number four, number five. I mean, when you have those at the top five murder countries basically in the world.